You know, if you look at pictures of the moon, you can still see them. The faint tracks left in the dust, the base of an old lander. They've been sitting there for over 50 years, completely untouched since Apollo 17, the last time a human being set foot on the lunar surface. For half a century, it's been, well, quiet. But all of that is changing, and fast. So that's the big question, right? Those footprints from 1972 are still there, perfectly preserved in the vacuum. Why the sudden mad dash to go back? What's driving all these different countries to pour billions of dollars into a new race for the moon? Well, it turns out this isn't just a reboot of the first space race. This time around, the players, the prize, and the rules of the game have totally changed.
All right, so to understand where we're headed, we got to take a quick look back at how we got there in the first place. Section 1, the first race, which was really all about planting flags and leaving footprints. It was a sprint to prove who was top dog.
Let's be honest, the first space race wasn't really about exploring space. It was a front for the Cold War, a massive display of technological and ideological power between the US and the Soviet Union. And for a while, the Soviets were winning. They had the first satellite, the first animal, the first person in orbit. But the US ultimately grabbed the final prize, landing a man on the moon in 1969. So after 12 astronauts walked on the moon, why did it all just stop? It really came down to two things. First, the Apollo program was unbelievably expensive. And second, the main goal was achieved. The political race had been won. America basically said, okay, we did it, and shifted its focus to things like the space shuttle and the International Space Station. And for decades, that was pretty much it. But then, a new player stepped onto the stage and completely reignited the competition. Welcome to Section 2, the new race, which is all about new alliances and much, much bigger ambitions.
This right here was the turning point. While America was looking elsewhere, China was quietly and methodically building up its own lunar program. And their unmanned landing in 2013, that was the first soft landing by any nation since the 70s. It was a huge statement, a real wake-up call that made the US snap its attention right back to the moon. So now the race isn't just between two superpowers. It's really between two massive global alliances. On one side, you've got the US-led Artemis Accords, which is this huge coalition of nations. And on the other, you have the China-led International Lunar Research Station, with Russia as its main partner. The world is literally dividing into two teams for this next chapter of space exploration. And the goals, they could not be more different. The Apollo era was a flat-out sprint. Get there, plant the flag, get home. Mission accomplished. Today, it's a marathon. The goal isn't just to visit, it's to stay. It's all about building a permanent, sustainable human presence. And things are moving a bit slower this time, partly because, frankly, our tolerance for risk is way lower than it was back in the Apollo days. Safety is a huge, huge deal now. And make no mistake, the stakes are incredibly high. From the American perspective, this is a race that could directly change the geopolitical balance of power right here on Earth. So what is it? What are they all racing toward? See, it's not just about getting back to the moon in general. It's about getting to a very specific and very valuable piece of lunar real estate. This brings us to Section 3, the prize, the moon's strategic south pole. And this is the absolute key. The moon's about the size of Africa, and not every part of it is the same. If one country can set up the first permanent base in an area rich with resources, they basically get to set the rules for that region. Anyone else who wants to show up and use those resources might just have to ask them for permission first. So what's the big deal? What's hiding out at the lunar South Pole that has suddenly made it the hottest destination in the entire solar system? The answer is water. Good old-fashioned H2O, frozen solid. It's locked away in deep craters that haven't seen a single ray of sunlight in literally billions of years. And that water ice is probably the single most important resource for humanity's future in space. This isn't just about giving astronauts something to drink. This water is the key to breaking our ties with Earth. You can crack it open to get oxygen for breathable air. But here's the real game changer. You can split it into hydrogen and oxygen, the main components of rocket fuel. All of a sudden, the moon isn't just a destination, it's a cosmic gas station. And that's not all. There's another potential jackpot, helium-3. It's an element that could, one day, power clean nuclear fusion reactors.
It's almost non-existent on Earth, but we think it's all over the place in moon dust. Now, getting to it would be a massive technological and financial hurdle, for sure, but the potential payoff is just enormous. Which brings us to the ultimate goal. For all this talk about the moon, it's not the final stop, it's a stepping stone. Section 4. The moon is our gateway to Mars. This really lays out the whole long-term vision. Step 1, you set up a base on the moon. Step 2, you learn to live off the land, using its resources to refuel. And step 3, you use that base as a launch pad. That is how we get to Mars. That's how we get to the rest of the solar system. This quote from the US program just nails it. This isn't about repeating history. It's about building a foundation, creating a permanent launch pad for humanity to become a truly spacefaring civilization. So as we start to wrap up here, it's pretty clear this new chapter of space exploration is totally different from the last one, which leads to our final section. Is this a new frontier or just a new conflict? This is the core difference. The first space race was about missions, these incredible but separate, one-off achievements. This new race is about activity. It's about creating a constant, sustained presence that builds our capabilities in space for the long haul. And that leaves us with the million-dollar question. We're standing on the edge of becoming a multi-planetary species, competing for resources on a whole new world. So, will this challenge push us to cooperate in new ways for a shared future, or are we just going to export our same old earthly rivalries and conflicts out into the cosmos? The race is officially on, and the final chapter has yet to be written.